example I'm taking from Groys. If you're speaking about a new car can never be a new car. It can be a recent car. It can be something which is different, but it can never be new. And the reason is very simple, because according to Kierkegaard, if something can be new, it's only something that you cannot anticipate. If you can recognize that something is different, it means that you were able to compare it to something that you know, and as such is not totally new. So the only way for God, for Christ to come, to be totally different, is actually to look the same, because in that way you don't anticipate. Yeah, it's a strange kind of logic. So, but it becomes, but it's interesting, yeah? But then Groys take it also to art, and there it becomes very interesting and very problematic at the same time. So, an artwork cannot look different in order to be new, because if it will look, if you can recognize that it's different, it means that it's not really new, because then it's something that you can compare, so it's not totally new. So, the ready-made for Groys is the ultimate new artwork. I don't know how, he's not really referring to what do we do now after Duchamp really did it, but let's stick to his logic, to his argument. So, in order for the artwork to be really new, it has to resemble the profane, ordinary objects that you see. So, if I'm going to paint this bottle in a simple way, you will say, well, it's new, I never saw a painting drawing a bottle, this is a new artwork. Then Groys will say, no, this is not a new artwork, because you could recognize it as an artwork. You could recognize it as new, and if you can recognize it as new, it means that it's not really new. Okay? So the only way is to take this bottle and to have Duchamp signing on the bottle, and then it's really new. And it's true, it's really new. The only problem is that it becomes really, the game becoming circular and really tasteless. So and I'm going now to the general argument, if the work is new only because it's not there in the museum, the whole exercise of being new is empty. And if I reply to what you're saying, I'm not speaking about the nothing of Heidegger and all. This is really amazing and showing empty spaces in variety of ways, and we can mention Anish Kapoor and all that. It's something which is really fascinating and very deep. But we are speaking about empty in the sense that it's not something that's taking us anywhere. This whole exercise, which philosophically makes lots of sense, in the end of the day, after Duchamp, after the meanings that Duchamp gave it, it's not something that we can exercise again. So what we really have as the ground of the possibility of the new is meaning. And it's not new that is the ground of the possibility of meaning. So it's not the other way around. I think that what we should look for is for meaning in a simple way. And then, yeah, any creation which you try to, it's not about the authenticity of the self which will bring something new. That's not the point. But the effort to do something which is really meaningful to your life, to other people's life, to speak about something which is around you, hopefully which is going to be new. But meaning should be.
Last question. Yeah, I think very similar to what the last question. Because I was just wondering, probably I have not got to the crux of your talk, but this binary between the meaningfulness and the art for the art's sake. Because I think somehow you're creating the binary between that art for the sake of art and the meaningfulness. So I'm just kind of thinking that how do we problematize these questions of meaningfulness in the art? Because if the meaningfulness is a distinct category from art for the art's sake, then what is the category of art for the art's sake? It cannot be meaningless category. It's also has a kind of a meaning to that. Then are we saying that this meaningfulness of art is something that is social relevance or utilitarian perspectives? We can see that. So there's something kind of confusion in my mind.
My reply will be very simple. Art for art's sake is a very meaningful idea. But my problem is not with art for art's sake. My problem is not with cubism. My problem with none of it. My problem is when the new, as I see it in Groys, is becoming the thing in itself, is becoming the purpose, is becoming the passion of the artist. That is the problem. Otherwise, art for art's sake is a brilliant idea. It's a very good idea. So to be, it's meaningful. This is also what I said later on in the end, that we should read also, if we want to come out with the impasse of modern art, is we should read also modern art in a different way, which means many other people are doing that. I think Anzi is doing that in that way. So you should look at it differently. So yeah, art for art's sake is very meaningful. It's not only about to speak about your social issues, and if you have something interesting to say in terms of aesthetics, it's great. But if you, I don't know, you instead of a white square on white square, you create a triangle or a circle.
But it's a historical idea. It's a historical idea. And it has a context, which is that art for art's sake people can't propose themselves. Again, the bourgeois utilitarianism of 19th century is a revolt against that. So it's not, in that sense, arts for, in this idea, it had a patriotic. So it was a kind of a walkout. It was a kind of, closing the door on somebody's face. Even the ivory towerism now is a kind of a term which is seen negatively or is a kind of a critical thing. Ivory tower means that we are not part of it. And initially, historically, that is how these things originate. Today it is a term of 44 degrees and you laugh at the people. You are sitting in ivory tower, no touch with reality. But it was a protest against that reality, to begin with. So the concepts keep evolving and their meaning and interpretations keep changing with time, I suppose.
This one, sorry, you were very provocative, so I feel like responding. But in one sense, in a political sense, meaningful art is always an impossibility. It's always yet to come in some ways. Because meaning is not static. And also what kind of meaning? Are we talking about, contingent meanings, which might be meaningful to me, but in terms of a kind of transcendent meaning, that meaning, or politically transcendent meaning, that meaning has not yet arrived, which will be universally meaningful. So in a way, the impossibility of it is what is being, in some senses, instituted. Because otherwise, the meaningful art that you're talking about, where all the postmodernists are now not interested in the question of, newness, but in being relevant in some ways, it becomes irrelevant in some ways also. Because ultimately, meaningfulness then becomes a question of relevance, which is always being subsumed or surpassed. So you're also becoming, every moment of relevance is also becoming irrelevant, and so you're always trying to do something which is, whose condition has not yet come. In a kind of universal, transcendent, political sense. So,
I think yours is very provocative. But I see it as, I see mine as very conservative and simple. But I will start with what I think about it, and then I have to ask you something that I didn't understand. But when I'm speaking about meaningful art, it's not as if we have an art which is meaningful and an art which is dealing with aesthetics. It's not something that you can separate. I'm speaking about approach to art. I'm speaking about what you're looking for. It's not, as I said, anything can be seen in different ways. The question is what you are looking for. The question is where you put the stress. Meaning is not something which is stable. I think what has been said here is, I will definitely agree. The question is kind of approach. What are we looking in art? We are not speaking about a particular meaning of social or something like this. We are speaking in terms of stress, where you put the stress and what you are looking for. Whether the ultimate meaning can never arise from the work as a text or just as a visual. Obviously it's true. It's definitely right. I'm not speaking in the name of politics, all the same. Now what I wanted to ask you is what is that universal meaning which will rise politically, because that is something that I don't understand.
I'm speaking in a kind of Marxist sense, in a way that the end of capital,
But that is something that I cannot really understand, and if you can clarify. Or what does it mean?
Yeah, it means when, in a sense where, to put it in a very simple way, where art will be universalized, where it will be accessible to all, where that meaning will not be a meaning which is partial or contingent, just for a particular group. It won't be in a class-divided society.
So the only ways that I can see this kind of art, it is a kind of art that suppress other voices, not let, in a very simple way. It's an art that does not let other voices, other visual voices, if you like, come out. So for me, it's not an utopia, it's a disaster in that way.
May I make one point? Just one. Like the famous question which Marx had asked, that why the Greek art is just very much relevant to us. So the question that for their purpose, that art does not, I would say, work in the way many times we relate in terms of, okay, whether art is a contemporary, whether art is from history, whether art is from the future. I think art works with a kind of presence, not the present. And if you're thinking, so therefore the basic question, the fundamental question when Marx asked that why that our Greek art is still becoming quite like relevant for us, then I think it has, like art has such a connotation where it transcends that meaning, at least in context of, if you are taking context of temporality, in context of a speciality in those terms. And I think I will not use the term universalism in that sense, but I would say that better way I will use the term depersonalization. Many times it works to the depersonalization. Why we watch all the people we go to watch a theater and we all like it. We definitely come from very different kinds of background, very different kind of historicity, very different kind of embodied experiences. But again, we all like it. So there is I would say, certain kinds of, I will say essence, not essence, but certain kind of entity within art which depersonalizes us.
Yes. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for this space. Thank you everyone. Take it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think there's still tea and pakora on the side. Oh, the tea's over.